Most people think that walking away is enough, that silence will speak for them, that absence will make someone miss them. But the truth is, your absence won't hurt them until you stop caring. Because absence without detachment is just distance, not freedom. You're gone, but you're still there in your thoughts, in your emotions, in your hope that they'll finally realize your worth. And they can feel that. People can feel when your energy is still orbiting around them. They won't feel the loss because deep down, they know you haven't really left. You're just pretending to. You're hoping they'll chase you, miss you, ask for you. And that's not strength. That's still holding on. Quietly, secretly, painfully. But something changes when you no longer seek to be noticed. When you stop measuring your worth by their attention. When your silence isn't a strategy, but a reflection of your peace. That's when your absence starts to carry weight. Not as revenge, not as a punishment, but as a quiet reminder of what can't be replaced. The Stoics teach us, we suffer not from what happens to us, but from our judgments about it. So maybe they left. Maybe they didn't care. But you get to choose what comes next. And what comes next is letting go of the story you've been telling yourself. The one where they come back. The one where they finally understand. The one where your pain becomes their regret. Let it go. Not because they deserve peace, but because you do. Start focusing on your inner world. Start building a life that doesn't revolve around their presence or their absence. Detach not with bitterness, but with stillness. You don't need closure from them. You don't need an apology. You don't need them to see your value. Because once you see it, everything changes. And when that day comes, when your mind is quiet, your heart is calm, and their memory no longer shakes you, that's when they'll feel it. Not the silence, not the distance, but the void you left behind. A void that only exists because they took your presence for granted until it was no longer theirs to have. That's the kind of absence that hurts, the kind they never expected, the kind that doesn't ask to be felt, but is. Because in the end, the greatest power isn't in being missed. It's in no longer needing to be. You walked away. Maybe they didn't even notice. You became quiet, distant, invisible, and still the world kept spinning for them. And that hurts, because deep down you expected something, a message, a call, a sign that you mattered. But here's the harsh truth. Your absence won't hurt them if you're still emotionally present. When you still wait, when you still hope, when your thoughts still orbit around them, you haven't truly left. You've just changed your form from visible to invisible, but still there. Still clinging to the idea of being missed. Stoic wisdom teaches us something powerful. The pain doesn't come from their actions. It comes from our attachment, from our expectations. Real strength doesn't lie in walking away. It lies in letting go, quietly, fully, without needing them to know. And here's the moment everything shifts. When you stop needing to be remembered. When you stop replaying what you said, what you could have done differently, what they might be thinking. Because when you detach, not out of pride, but out of self-respect, your absence becomes real. And that's when it starts to echo. Not because you wanted it to, but because silence, when rooted in peace, speaks louder than 1,000 words. You don't need to prove your value by being missed. Your value exists with or without their recognition. So stop trying to teach them a lesson. Live, heal, grow. Let your life become so full, so rich, so deeply grounded in purpose, that they no longer have access to the version of you they once knew. And by the time they look back, you won't be waiting. You won't be hoping. You'll be gone. Not just from their life, but from the story where your worth depended on them. That's not revenge. That's wisdom. That's freedom. That's the power of letting go. You think your absence will change something, that if you stop talking, stop showing up, stop being there, they'll notice. They'll miss you. They'll come running back. But days pass, then weeks, and the silence you thought would echo like thunder barely makes a sound. They seem fine, unbothered, maybe even happier. And it hurts, because somewhere inside, you were hoping your disappearance would make them realize your value. You were hoping the space you left behind would feel too heavy to ignore, But here's a truth you need to hear. Your absence won't hurt them as long as you're still emotionally present, and they know it. You see, people can sense when you haven't really left. When you're still watching their stories, still checking their posts, still thinking about what they're doing, who they're with, what they're feeling. You're gone physically, but spiritually, you're still right there, orbiting around them. And that's not absence. That's attachment in disguise. It's waiting with silence instead of words. Stoicism teaches us that our peace lies in what we control, and we don't control them. We don't control their thoughts, their growth, or their regret. What we control is our detachment, our response, our ability to let go, not just with our actions, but with our soul. You want them to feel the weight of losing you? Then stop holding on, even in silence. Let go of the version of them you're still clinging to in your mind. Let go of the fantasy where they realize they were wrong. Let go of the story where they come back changed and everything finally makes sense. Because every time you replay that story in your mind, you remain a prisoner of it. And they get to live rent-free in your thoughts while you wait for a knock on a door that may never open. The moment your absence becomes powerful is the moment you stop needing it to be. It's when you stop checking if they've noticed you're gone. It's when you stop measuring your worth based on how long it takes for them to feel your loss. And instead, you begin to rebuild. Not for revenge, not for recognition, but because you remember who you were before you made someone else the center of your peace. There is something magnetic about someone who no longer needs validation. Someone who walks away, not out of pride, but out of clarity. Someone who says nothing, but whose silence is full of peace, not anger, not bitterness, just peace. That kind of presence, even in absence, is unforgettable. They won't feel your absence the day you leave. They'll feel it the day you stop hoping they notice. They'll feel it when your energy's no longer tied to them, when your name doesn't carry the same ache, when your memory doesn't hold the same weight. And by then, it might be too late, because you'll be gone, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, fully. Gone in a way they never expected, gone in a way that can't be reversed. The Stoics understood this well. They taught that suffering doesn't come from what we lose, but from how tightly we hold on. So the key isn't in making someone regret losing you. The key is in no longer needing their regret, in no longer needing their apology to be free. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Your mind is your sanctuary. Protect it. Don't let someone else's absence become a storm in your heart. Let it become a clearing, a space to rediscover who you are when you're no longer trying to be enough for someone else. Maybe they never truly saw you. Maybe they never appreciated what you gave. That doesn't make you small. It makes them blind. And you are not here to be seen by eyes that can't see. You're not here to be loved by someone who doesn't know how to hold what's rare. So stop waiting. Stop replaying. Stop giving your silence an audience. Start living. Start healing. Start becoming the kind of person who no longer needs to be remembered by the ones who forgot you too easily. And one day they may look back. They may realize what they lost. They may feel the quiet emptiness where your presence used to live. But by then, you won't be waiting to hear it. Because true absence isn't when you leave their life. It's when you leave the story in your head that kept them important. That's when your absence becomes powerful. That's when it starts to hurt. Not because it was meant to, but because it was real. Because it was real. And real things, when lost, don't fade quietly. They leave echoes. Not in the noise, but in the silence that follows. What you gave wasn't small. You offered presence, consistency, care, and depth. You offered understanding in a world full of shallow conversations. You offered your heart in a time where most people give just enough to keep from feeling alone, but not enough to truly connect. So when you walk away, when you really walk away, something irreplaceable leaves with you. But that realization takes time, and most people only feel the weight of your absence when their life gets quiet enough to notice what's missing. And that's not your responsibility. Your job was never to wait around until they get it. Your peace cannot depend on someone else's awakening. Because here's the truth most people avoid. Sometimes they won't realize your worth, not because you weren't valuable, but because they were never ready to value anything real. Some people don't grow until they lose something that doesn't come back. They take for granted the sun until it sets. They take for granted loyalty until it's withdrawn. They assume you'll always care because you always have. But one day you choose peace over chaos, silence over explanation, growth over repetition, and that's the day everything changes. You stop fighting to be understood. You stop hoping for closure. You stop editing yourself just to stay in their life. And in that quiet moment, your spirit returns to you. You remember how to breathe without checking your phone, how to smile without replaying arguments in your head, how to sleep peacefully, not because things are perfect, but because your soul is no longer exhausted from trying to fix what was never in your control. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic minds, said, "He who is brave is free, and it takes bravery to walk away without resentment, to release what once felt like everything with grace instead of bitterness." That's where the real work is, not in making them feel bad, not in crafting the perfect goodbye, but in reclaiming your own energy and deciding once and for all that you are no longer available to people who only love you when it's convenient. Your absence won't hurt them immediately, but over time when they look around for someone who truly listened, someone who saw them, held them, believed in them, and realized that person is gone, that's when the loss sinks in. And by then, you won't be bitter. You won't even be waiting. You'll be building, living, laughing again. You'll realize that missing someone and wanting them back are two different things. One is memory, the other is attachment. And once you're free from the latter, you can carry the past with softness instead of pain. Maybe the story didn't end the way you hoped, but maybe it ended the way it needed to. Maybe that chapter was meant to teach you boundaries, self-worth, and the art of surrender. Because sometimes losing someone is what it takes to find yourself. So let them go, gently, completely, without drama. Let them wonder why your energy shifted. Let them miss the version of you they thought would always be there. And when they do, when they finally notice the silence, the peace, the absence that now has a soul of its own, they'll feel it. Not because you wanted them to, but because absence rooted in healing becomes a kind of presence they can never unfeel. If this message found you at the right time and helped you see things more clearly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more reflections like this. Your journey matters, and we're walking it with you, one thought at a time. Take care of your peace, and until next time.